I'm Ryan with Prudential Pest Solutions, and I want to show you how we do rodent control differently. And rodent control is mice and rats. So our philosophy at Prudential Pest Solutions is we want to obviously eliminate your rodent issue, but I want to make sure that you don't have the issue again. So that means that we're going to identify all the areas that mice are getting into the property, and we're going to seal those up. And how do we do that? Well, we use excluder mesh, which is like a steel fabric, kind of like steel wool, except it doesn't rust, it's easier to work with. And we shove these through gaps and cracks where mice typically enter the house. Mice also like to enter the house through the garage door. At the very bottom of your garage door is a seal. And oftentimes what they'll do is they'll chew a little part of the side of it out, then they're into the garage. And once they're into the garage, they have access into the house. So how do we keep them out? Well, if your garage door is damaged or chewed through, we can replace the garage door seal. But it's not just a regular rubber seal that came with your garage door. This actually has excluder mesh built into it so that when it's installed on your garage door, not only does it perform the same function of keeping water and debris out of your garage, but it also has the added benefit of when mice chew through, they can't actually chew all the way through the excluder mesh and it keeps them out. Now, along those same lines, commercial buildings like restaurants, warehouses, office buildings, they have those metal doors that you walk through, and at the bottom is key areas where mice and rodents and rats get in. So the same concept is we'll actually just replace that door seal at the bottom with one of these. Now this looks like just a regular rubber door seal, but just like the garage door seal that we use in residential, this actually has the excluder built into it. Because oftentimes what I see is, and this is residential and commercial, is that I'll find that what a lot of pest companies do is that they'll maybe just throw some bait around, or they'll put some of these nice boxes on the outside of the house, and that's great. What these boxes do is you put bait in there, it reduces the rodent population around your house, but why don't we change the locks on them? Why don't we seal it up so that mice can't get in? I still think that these are a great idea to reduce the population overall around your home, but let's keep them out of the home permanently. And that's not what these do. Okay, these just reduce population. This will keep them out. So a typical rodent job for us includes doing a thorough inspection of the home, identifying where they're getting in from, and then doing something about it. So sealing it up. The next step that we do is we're going to take our HEPA vacuum, our HEPA filtered vacuum, and we're going to remove all the visible rodent droppings around the house. And we do this for two very important reasons. Reason number one is it leaves your house cleaner, right? Rodent droppings are nasty, they're disease-ridden, and we need to get them out of there. So our HEPA vacuum allows us to get the droppings out of there safely and leave your house cleaner. Now from our end, and this is the second reason why we use this vacuum, is that it provides us a baseline. So we go into many homes where the homeowner might say, listen, I've been battling mice for years. Well, when I pull their oven out, for example, and I see rodent droppings down there, are those rodent droppings from a day ago, a week ago, a year ago? We don't know. So when we remove the rodent droppings with our vacuum here, not only does it for the homeowner leaves it a cleaner appearance, but it also gives us a baseline so that we know that after that initial treatment, any droppings that we see are fresh. And we know that there's still an issue going on. Whereas before, without removing the droppings, we'd have no idea the status of the situation other than the homeowner just saying, yeah, I'm not seeing mice. So a thorough inspection of the home or the business, and then removing the rodent droppings to give us a baseline. After that, we try to eliminate the mice from the livable part of the home. What does that mean? Well, folks call us and they say, I have a mouse in the kitchen. Not a great situation to be in if you're the homeowner, but what we're going to do is we're going to inspect to see how the mice are getting from the outside to the kitchen, or from the basement to the kitchen, or the attic to the kitchen. We're going to move out like the oven, for example. The oven often has a big gap in the back of it where the big gas line or the electric line comes to it, and mice love to travel behind the oven. They love to travel up that wiring and that piping, and we're going to seal all that off so that we take the fight, the rodent fight, elsewhere, right? So you still have mice, and we're going to still treat for that, but you shouldn't have mice in the kitchen anymore. You shouldn't have them in the bathroom or the bedroom anymore. Let's take the fight to the basement, the attic, and the outside eventually. So step one is thorough inspection. Step two is cleanup. Step three is sealing up the inside of the house around piping, around wiring, around areas in the kitchen where the mice seem to travel to. And that eliminates the mice from the livable part of the home. Next, what we do is we set traps we set traps inside the house, in the basement, in the attic, with the idea being that if we have the whole outside of the house sealed up, okay, no new mice can get in, but we still have mice inside. So now you're not seeing mice in the kitchen, and that's great. Now, no new mice are coming in, also great. But what do we do with the mice that are still there in the basement or the attic? Well, that's when we're going to do some trapping. So we want to trap those mice out of there, and that way we know that there's no more mice in the home. And the reason why we use traps on the inside as opposed to bait is that bait kills the mouse, obviously, but where does the mouse die? I have no idea. And if it dies somewhere in the wall, under the floor, in the ceiling, in the attic, it's going to cause an odor. Even something as small as a mouse is going to cause an odor which you are not going to like. And it might be difficult for us to find. So we don't use bait in the house. Also, we want to make sure that things like your kids, your pets, don't have any access to the bait or mess with a rodent that's already eaten the bait. So if your cat eats a dead mouse that has bait, that was poisoned by bait, there's a risk of secondary poisoning. So we eliminate all that by not using bait in the house. We just use traps on the inside. And again, because we're just trapping what's already there, because we've sealed up the outside of the house. Also on the outside, that's where the boxes come into play. So once the house is sealed up, once we have the traps and we're not catching mice anymore, then we can start talking about using these boxes. And what these boxes do, again, is we fill them with bait. Mice are able to come in, they feed, and then they leave. So it's not actually trapping them. And these boxes can look like rocks. They can look like black shoe boxes. You'll see them when you start looking for them, but that's what they do. The mice come in, they feed on the bait, they leave, they go die somewhere else. And the whole purpose of them is to reduce the population around your house. Okay, so this isn't going to stop them from getting into the house if we don't do any sealing or exclusion. It's just going to lower the population, which is still a good thing, but that's the last step that we do, is we talk longer term. So longer term, your house is sealed up. We want to lower the rodent population around your house. That's where these boxes come into play. And then our last step that we do is we offer preventative plans. So we maintain these boxes, we clean them, we check them, we rebait them. We incorporate pest control into that as well. But that's not the first step, that's the last step. The first step is to seal out new mice from coming into the house, isolate the kitchen and the other livable parts of the home so that mice can't get into those areas, and then take the fight to the basement and the attic where it's out of your sight. And that's where we're going to trap and remove the mice that are still there, so you won't have new mice. The old mice are already trapped, and then we can talk about ways to keep them away for longer term, which is with the exterior rodent boxes. So our philosophy to pest control and rodent control in general is to seal pests out and protect your home from the outside in, as opposed to just taking some bait, tossing it around and saying, I hope you don't have any more mice issues. So I think that's what really sets us apart differently, is that we want to actually seal your house up so that you don't keep having the issue. And we're experts at finding where the rodents are coming in from. Now, you can see I'm dressed in my winter gear here. It's December in Pennsylvania. This is not just a wintertime problem, although most folks find our rodent control calls definitely go up in the wintertime, but this can be done year round. So this is not just something that happens in the fall and winter. We can do spring, summer, fall, or winter to protect your home. Now, if you don't have a rodent issue and you want to be proactive, again, we can help. So we can just eliminate the trapping and the cleanup because you don't have an issue right now, but we can ensure that your house is sealed up tight so that you don't have an issue. Because I hear this all the time from clients where they'll say, I've lived in this house for 10, 20, 30 years and I've never had this issue. Well, you have that issue because there is a gap that they've somehow found or created to get in. And what our proactive services do, and this is part of our proactive plans, is that we'll identify those areas, those weak spots before something gets in, seal them up, sure them up so that nothing gets in. And if something were to ever get back in, we have processes in place to make sure that it stays in the basement or the attic and doesn't get into the livable place again. Because again, is it great to have mice? No. But do you want them in the kitchen? Absolutely not. So if we're going to have a recurring issue, let's make sure that it stays in the basement where we can fight it down there at a site. So if you have a rodent issue and you live in Berks, Chester, Lancaster County, or southeastern Pennsylvania, give Prudential Pest Solutions a call or text us at 484-401-4361, and you'll be sure that the experts are on the case.